Welcome to Family Focus. I'm Joyce Johnson, President and CEO of Johnson & Olson Communications and Casting, a full-service public relations and casting agency. We talk about lots of different subjects here on Family Focus, and today we are bringing back a musician, a very talented musician. Dashiel Rowland is with us today. And Dashiel, welcome back to our show. How many years has it been? 2 or 3 years? We don't even remember. That's how long it's been.
Yes.
And you're living in New York City now, right?
I have been, yes.
You are living in New York City. So what we're going to do, we're going to be playing some of Dashiel's clips and talking to him about what it's like working as a musician, the different challenges you had, how you even got into music. But let's go ahead and show some of Dashiel's music. Let's.
I'm stuck in LA beneath lavender skies, lost through the day, back on access by night. Hollywood is, I keep passing me by. Habits remain while attachments subside. Improvise aims if I have to decide. Clarity reigns when my actions align. Dense disarray, find a laugh not to cry. Glass takes a shape, just adapt to the size. I just play the fool, running from the truth.
And I guess the first thing to say is, where was that shot, New York or LA?
That was in New York.
That was in New York. All right, so let's talk about your musical background, a little bit of how you even got started. Did you start playing the piano when you were 5? I mean, when did music start for you?
I started playing the drums when I was like 2, I think.
2 years old, okay.
Yeah. And then piano at like 5.
Yeah, at 5.
Yeah.
And then you decided to study. When did you decide you wanted to be a musician? When did that happen for you?
I think like when I was little, it was kind of just the only thing that or one of the only things that I really liked to do. And I was just, I think, well, maybe I like to do a lot of things, but I was very fixated on music, and I allocated like a lot of time to that. I just practiced drums all day when I was really little, and would like listen to music in like headphones and just like play drums along with it. A lot of like Beatles records and stuff like that. And then when I was like 5, I started playing piano. Like I think my sister played some piano. We had a keyboard, and I started doing that. And then I took some classical piano lessons when I was like a little older, maybe like 8, and I did that for a while, and I started like composing classical pieces for a bit, and I don't know, I think I kind of liked that for a bit, but I also didn't really like it. I don't exactly remember like that, but I remember like my mom was like into me doing it, and I was like, okay, like this is cool.
She's a culture vulture. She loves all the culture and all of that stuff. But you have to really want to do that.
Yeah, I think it was very formative to just like come up with my own melodies and stuff like that. But the style wasn't like what I was craving, you know. Like so it was really good to sort of, I just sit down at a piano and like write like melodies and come up with chord structure and stuff like that. But it wasn't like, it didn't like hit how I wanted.
Well, did you do band in school?
No.
See, I was going to say, I don't think you did band, which you're a musician. I would think that would be one of the first things you do, but it's almost like Barbra Streisand never was in the chorus. She didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
She just wanted to do it. She wanted to do her own thing.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do what everybody else did.
Yeah.
So do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I don't really like remember exactly like what my rationale was for not doing it, but I feel like particularly as like a young person, I was very sort of like, I want to do what I want to do. And
yes.
Like, if there's like a constraint, then I don't really want to do it. So.
And then you went to you studied in New Orleans, is that correct?
Yeah.
You studied college. Okay, so what was that like for you? And how did it, I mean, that's a city of music. You talk about jazz music down there. What was that like for you?
I like, as I was finishing high school, I thought I'd go to school for something more like pragmatic, like, I don't know, like political science or something like that. And then I just sort of, at the very last second, decided to try to pursue music stuff. And I applied to a lot of schools, and I either like didn't get in or it would be quite expensive. Like, so it was like one or the other, like the ones that were sort of like my top interest schools, which were like often in New York or LA. And then, yeah, I applied to this school, Loyola University of New Orleans, and at the very end, like, I think, like, past the mark that you're supposed to, like, make a decision or whatever, and I got offered, like, a full scholarship, so I just sort of took it on a whim, and, like, my mom and I really briefly, like, just visited the city. It was, like, I think I'd been to New Orleans for, like, just, like, less than a day one time. Like, I'd driven through when I was really little, but I'd never been there other than that, so we visited briefly, like, while I was supposed to be in school. Just, like, took 2 days off school and went down there, and it was really cool, and it seemed like, you know, why not just try it? Yeah, so then, yeah, I was there for about 4 years. It was a little odd because of COVID hitting.
Yes, you were down there during COVID,
Yeah.
so you really couldn't do a lot of public performances. And
But that was quite late into that was like my second to last year of school. So I was there for a while before all that, but I just like I ended up finishing school online. Like I did the Zoom Uni thing.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's play some more music. Let's go to another clip, and you can maybe describe it once we hear it. We're going to listen to a little more of your music here.
Breaks part of the whole of yesterday falls beneath. Tomorrow will arrive with expressions of evergreen. Nothing can hold back the river's endless energy. Squeezing onto something that I'm yet to even see. Uncertain times, everything is so temporary. Babe, second guessing every step, there ain't no time for hurry. Uncertain times, everything is so temporary. Babe, second guessing every step, there ain't no time for hurry.
And your first EP actually came out autumn 2024. And what inspires you to write? Like for the piece we just saw, was it something that you just started working on? Did you work on it a little bit, then come back to it, or was it in 5 minutes while you ordered sushi or something? You know, how quick was it for you to put that together?
So that song in particular was something that I started sort of in like peak COVID, like maybe like April 2020 or something, like when we were all kind of really petrified, and it was just sort of like this like unreliable narrator like thing of like going back and forth that like like tomorrow is never promised, like focus on momentary stuff versus like trying to, you know, plan for very specific like future things. Like so it was just like the like the theme of it is sort of like the verses are like this unreliable narrator going back and forth about like I have time and like I'm gonna take everything a day at a time and figure this out and enjoy things, and then juxtaposed by like the like, oh no, like time is running out, I need to like accomplish this.
Things done.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's I don't know, I just remember that I was just like having like a weird day where I was like really, you know, I think we were all just like in a very strange like existential mode.
During COVID?
Yeah.
Well, I just remember I had to work every day. I mean, it was a crazy time. I was actually going through chemotherapy.
Right.
And, you know, dealing with that. But I also went to work. I worked 2 jobs every day at 2 different radio stations. But so it was a little different for me to do that. But it was a good time to really reflect and really think about you're alone, you're not going out as much at night because you couldn't. There wasn't that opportunity. Now, you've done some collaborations. You want to talk about some of the collaborations that you've done?
Yeah.
That you've...
So this project that I put out in like our last fall, which I don't think is like debut EP. It's sort of like one of my first like very like I tried to do the right structuring stuff where I like had visualizers for it, and I don't know, it was sort of like a proper release in the way that I haven't before. It's on all streaming platforms, and I used to sort of only put things on SoundCloud and stuff like that. But anyway, this one was really cool because in the past, again, sort of a different like mode I was in. I was very sort of like I did everything from scratch, and it's all like nobody, or you know, every element was taken care of by me in a way that I think it's like a control thing where it's hard sometimes to get assistance with things. You know what I mean? When you have a sense of what something is supposed to be, it's a lot easier to just do it entirely yourself. But anyway, with this project, I got a lot of my close friends involved. So my friend Justin Cusio did the visualizers with me. So he and I together directed, shot, and edited these visualizers that are lyric videos and show lyrics with them. And then my friend Emmanuel Gallegos, Manny G, he is in LA and he mixed the whole record. So I produced every song and I made it all from scratch in my bedroom. But once I got it finished, I sent him every single stem, all the individual tracks of the songs, and he mixed them and mastered them in LA. And then my friend Ethan Marsh, who's in New York as well, he's from Cincinnati originally, but he's been in Brooklyn the last 3 years. He is an absolute jazz god. He's really brilliant musician.
Well, and I'm looking at your bio, Ethan Marsh. So you've been playing with some of the Akron jazz legends. Ethan Marsh is one of them. Avery Green.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was really cool. We played a show together in Akron in December of 2024, which was really fun. Avery is also from Cincinnati, and they grew up there and were in that jazz circuit for a while. And then Ethan moved to New York. Avery's still in Cincy, and anyway, Ethan and I drove in from Brooklyn to play this show in Akron in December, and then Avery drove up from Cincy, and that was super cool. They both are really brilliant instrumentalists and writers. They make their own stuff too. But it was a really cool way to sort of that EP is quite sort of a digital sound where I play a lot of live instruments on it, but it's also a very electronic produced album, and so we sort of stripped back and made a very sort of analog instrumental live version of that stuff, and a lot of my older work too. And it was a really fun set. It was really cool.
Let's hear some more of that work that you have been putting together. We have different clips that we're going to play. Let's go ahead and go to another one, and then you can tell us about it.
I left my heart on your post. You said my cardigan's dope, and then we drifted apart. I'm second guessing every move. Distant as fuck. Am I the person you hope, or just some words on your phone? You busy living it up. But do I cross your mind when you go out with your friends? I'm in the house cooking up, taking my time with the cuts, still thinking about what you do. Who am I to you? Just making up as I go. I love your language and depth. I write a verse and a graph, still it don't feel like enough. Holding on to what we can't touch. I said I'm fucking it up. Get overwhelmed and go ghost. I'm acting selfish to cope. Step on my feelings for once. I can't text my doubts.
All right, tell us about Dashiel, what we just saw. Tell us about that piece.
Yeah, that's called Digital Love. It's sort of a second version of a song I wrote a while before I made that version. The first one was a little bit more like less digitally produced, I guess, but I ended up with that one, and I liked that one better. And yeah, it's just sort of about the really weird day and age that we live in, where a lot of interaction is online.
Yes.
And, yeah, there's somebody that I talked to for a long time. Who
Now, I saw this one song idea, an instrument every day for a year. Did you do that?
I did.
All right, so how did you do that? How does that work?
I think it's really easy to get hindered by stagnance with music, and it's sometimes you can go a few days or a week or something without doing anything, and then that sort of compounds and becomes a deterrent in itself or something. So I had last year I just had this urge to just, no matter what, no excuses, just make a full beat or instrumental or whatever every single day. And then ideally, figure out, write a little bit or freestyle a little bit, put some vocals on it, but not every time, quite often just an instrumental. But yeah, so I just sit down every single night and yeah, make stuff and just play stuff. And yeah, like in New York, I work as like an organizer, like a community organizer and a field organizer on campaigns and stuff. And so I am quite busy during the day, but every night I come home and I lock in on music.
And focus on that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things where because you're a transplant, you've lived different places. All right. So what is it like for you when you moved to New York? We were chatting about this a little bit, and my friends who are in New York pay an outrageous amount for their apartments and living there as a musician. What was it like for you? First of all, trying to work as a musician also and booking gigs. What is the adjustments and things that you had to make when you moved to New York City?
Yeah, I spent like 3 of my summers while I was in college in New Orleans, in New York, because I did some internships, like working in studios and stuff. So that was sort of my first sense of living there, but not really like full time. I'd just be there for a month or 2 during the summer. So that was good and helped me to get used to that and stuff. But then in like late summer of 2022, I moved there full time. I moved to Brooklyn. Been living in Crown Heights for the last 3 years in Brooklyn, and it was there's something interesting about New York where like it is really like intense and it's really expensive and it's quite hard objectively, but it's also just like there's infinite opportunity everywhere, and there's just a sort of like spontaneity that kind of like breeds the opportunity, and just like it's like you stumble into things. Like I think like kind of every job that I've had, like day job wise, and I very much like sort of living there, I've separated sort of like what I'm doing to just like pay rent and my creative pursuits. And I have like some of my friends are like fully living off music in a really incredible way, and I have never been at that point, but I haven't really strived for that. Like some of my friends are just like gigging and doing gigs that they're not necessarily so into, but they are, playing music and paying rent off that. And for me, it was just sort of finding a good balance of day jobs that I don't hate and that are sort of aligned with some of my passions and stuff. And then, being able to compartmentalize and like come home and lock in on what I am passionate or what
what you really want to do.
So it was an adjustment, but it went pretty well. And then like something that's really fun that lends to making a little bit of money that I've done with a lot of my friends is like busking. Like we play out on the street, like in Easter Parkway, and we play in Central Park and stuff.
Yes.
No, I was just saying, like specifically that's where we would play in various places, and it was really, really fun to do that and make a little money and practice and stuff. So
you have to, because musicians have to play, just like writers have to write. You're watching Family Focus. I'm Joyce Johnson, your host, President and CEO of Johnson & Olson Communications and Casting. My guest today, Dashiel Rowland, has come back into town, talking to us. He's a musician and plays a lot of different kinds of music. As long as I've known you, as long as I've known your mom, you have been doing music and making music. I guess, and if you want to email me, it's sunaroundtown@AOL.com. Dash, tell us, all right, so you do some gigs in New York, but you also did some in LA. You were in LA for a while too.
I was.
So what was that like for you?
I was in LA for like maybe like 6 to 8 months, something like that. And I kind of thought to move there like after I finished college, before I ended up moving to New York ultimately. But I was just sort of trying to stumble into like entertainment like work that would lend to meeting people that can help me to do what I'm trying to do in music. And so I worked as an assistant editor on the show called Deadliest Catch. It's like a fishing show.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. I don't even know too much about it.
They keep dying on the show.
Do they?
It's got to be dangerous.
Yeah, no.
To be out there.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't send you out there on the boat.
Yeah, I was just in the studio. But,
okay, good.
So I would follow like once. To be honest with you, I haven't even watched an episode.
Show.
No, but
that's right. You're the editor.
Yeah.
You kind of see enough.
So I would follow like one specific boat. It was called like Brenna A.
Yeah, a lot of the stars have died on that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's Deadliest Catch. It's deadly.
That's insane. Yeah.
We're going to play another clip of your music if we can cue that up and get that ready. Play another one. We got time for one more, I think.
stress. But could we make amends, my friends? Time moved past, and all I got is this at best. Say it with my chest, confess, a mess. But I keep pushing through it like, don't you fret, unless I start giving you my best. Positive, no stopping it. Committed to the feeling every day, I'm getting lost in it. Can't front though, I almost quit. Stuck in place, some dishonest shit. Run away like the sort of fix. Yeah, but now I got a grip. Green hills.
Did we just see?
That one was called Inertia. That was something I made. So I was in LA for like somewhere between 6 and 8 months, and then was having some health issues to the point where I ended up leaving, and my dad and his partner have been living in Sacramento in Northern California. So I was over there for maybe like 3 or 4 months after I was in LA, and that was just something I made while I was there with them. And there were a couple days that some friends and I would drive from Sacramento into like the Bay Area, and I think that was like we'd done a little day trip to the Bay, and just I remember it was like something where I came home from that and just like quickly made a beat and freestyled. Like I didn't really write anything. I just kind of like freestyled into the mic until I stumbled into something, which sometimes is what I do to get past like writer's block when it's hard to like really sit down and write something. And I remember that's how I stumbled into that one. And then I think a couple of years later I came back to the demo and like developed it a bit, developed the production. I think I might have wrote a second verse at that point. But the underlying idea was just like a little freestyle that I made.
How would you categorize your music? I mean, is there, because you do different types. We're just playing random clips here, literally, didn't know which ones we're going to use. But how would you categorize your music?
I often sort of joke with my friends that it's really hard to do that like, I think right now particularly is like a weird time of like genre solving a little bit. Everybody's sort of just taking bits from here and bits from there, but I would say it's like rap and hip hop music is extremely formative, and I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff when I was like quite little, and then also like just like good like old like pop music like was something that was really formative to me when I was little, and like and like blues and soul and stuff. Like I always loved like Sam Cooke and like Benny King, and like blues stuff like B.B. King, and a lot of jazz stuff I was really into. My dad's a musician, and I would just like hang out with him and listen to what he was listening to. So I have a lot of like different influences that are kind of all over the map. And then when I went to college, I became friends with a lot of kids that were into a lot of like world music and world jazz, like bossa nova in Brazil and Ethiopian jazz and stuff like that. So I don't know, I listen to a lot of different stuff. But I would say that like it's sort of like bedroom pop meets like hip hop or something is kind of.
Because it doesn't fall into one category. Who are your favorite musicians that you like? You mentioned some, but
I really like a lot of people. I would say like in the vein of music that I make, somebody that I've like always loved is Mac Miller.
Yes, Mac Miller.
Yeah, and I listened to him a lot when I was little, and then he died when I was in college. Which was really sad because I was always really into him when I was a kid. But yeah, I loved Mac Miller growing up, and I still listen to Mac Miller sometimes. And I loved Jay-Z when I was little, and I loved Lupe Fiasco, who are both really good rappers. So those are kind of like in the realm of things I make. But like the stuff that I listen to most is jazz. Like I listen to like John Coltrane and like McCoy Tyner and stuff like that all day, and I really like some of the bossa nova guys like Georgie Banjor and DJ Vaughn I listen to a lot. And then there's some Ethiopian jazz guys I really like Malutu Askati. I'm probably completely mispronouncing the name.
I don't know how to say it either. But those are, I would say those are not mainstream. is what I'm going to say, because a lot of
Yeah.
people would not be familiar
In the
with
States,
some
at
of
least.
those.
I think like a lot of those people are like, you know, they're like Beatles adjacent or something in their own country. You know what I mean? Like they're really, really big and important, and but in the States they're less so.
All right, so where can people find your music?
I am these days on everything. I'm on Spotify
Okay.
and YouTube and Apple Music and
They type in
SoundCloud.
Dashiel Rowland. What do they have to do?
Just Dashiel. My artist name is just Dashiel.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so just type in Dashiel,
Yes.
and
I
they'll be
hope
able
so.
to find you.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, maybe a song name with Dashiel would make
Well-
it funny. like
Do you have a web page?
I
hope you do.
I do. It's not current right now. I do normally have a webpage.
Dash.
It's just dashielmusic.com.
Okay, DashielMusic.com.
But it's not current at the moment. But I will be again.
Dashiel, you gotta be
For
on
sure.
top of this,
For sure.
okay? You gotta market yourself.
For sure.
Any final thoughts, Dash?
Oh, the one thing I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you played a song called Digital Love earlier. That
Yes.
one, for whatever reason, that one has struck a chord in India, which is really cool.
That is so cool.
I have like
Dash.
25,000 streams on
That is so cool.
the internet or on Spotify, and it's big in Colombia and India, and that's cool. And I'm hoping to expand a little bit.
I'm hoping
the
you
States.
are too. Dash, we're out of time.
Cool.
We're out of time. But I thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for
I
having
want to
me.
thank you for joining us on Family Focus. Dash is easy to find. Just type in Dashiel.
Dashiel Music.
Type it in, Dashiel Music. And thank you for joining us again. I'm Joyce Johnson. Thank you for joining us on Family Focus.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.